Hello everyone, I'm Brenton Erminator Ermin, and today I'm doing something I don't normally do, and I am playing Vintage, specifically Vintage Doomsday. For those of you that know me a little well, you might know that I'm not normally a huge Vintage fan. I think the format's a little too swingy sometimes, where it's like you get in this counter war super early where everyone gets hellbent or practically hellbent, and then one person top decks recall and the game's over, or paradoxical outcome or something. Versus like Legacy, your top deck war is usually a little more interesting. A few creatures, digging for swords to plowshares with cantrips or whatever. Uh, but some friends of mine have expressed some interest in playing some proxy-friendly vintage tournaments like NYSE or a future Buffalo Chicken Dip Open. So I figured I'd get some reps in preparation if I decide to go to those. And Doomsday is the only vintage deck I currently have together on my Magic Online account. I'd have to pick up some more Moxen and some other stuff if I want to play something else. I don't remember what's holding me back. I've probably picked up some of the things since the last time I seriously looked at vintage. But yeah, anyway, here's the deck. If you're familiar with Doomsday and Legacy, it's the same plan. Doomsday lets you put 5 cards from your deck into reduces your deck down to 5 cards of your choosing, one of them being Thassa's Oracle, which will win the game. You also have Demonic Consultation as a way to exile your whole library if you draw a Thassa's Oracle naturally or find it with Demonic Tutor or Vamp Tutor. Some changes from my list that you'll see compared to the MTG Goldfish stock list is I'm only playing 1 Street Wraith as opposed to the full 4. Street Wraith is really good at helping you go off the turn you cast Doomsday by letting you cycle it for free, and then you draw. Usually, that's usually the situation this is helping with a lot. Is like, okay, I don't have enough mana to ponder, so I'll draw a Black Lotus so that I can ponder and then recall and then get Sapphire Oracle, or ponder into Lotus, ponder into Gush, and Gush will draw me Black Lotus Oracle or something like that. But in practice, now again, I haven't played a ton of vintage, but the few times that I have, my experience has been if I Doomsday, I will be unable to, if I don't have the Street Wraith immediately, putting Street Wraith in my pile is not going to be effective because I'm Doomsday is reducing my life total at half. My opponent has some number of creatures like Lavinia or Orcish Bowmaster or something that's making it so that I can't use my life total to draw cards that way. And then, on the flip side of that is well, Street Wraith is helping it so you can't pass the turn, but then relying on using Street Wraith to do that means I'm less likely to have Force Blue card in my hand to make sure I resolve my Doomsday. Also, since I last played Vintage, Ponder got unrestricted. So we have more cantrips in our deck in general. I'm also generally more inclined to try to play a little slower, let my opponent spend some of their resources developing their own game plan so that I'm more likely to resolve mine. So with that in mind, I've put a couple copies of Fatal Push in the main to deal with problematic permanents like Lavinia or Orcish Bowmaster. I know what you're thinking. Lavinia, why does that bother you? Well, it's really shutting off his Force of Will. I'm well, like I said, I need to resolve my Doomsday. If they force it, I've pretty much got to force back. Sure, there's a couple Fluster Storms, but you don't always have that. You don't always have the mana for it, for one. What else was I going to say? I don't know. Probably talking too long. Let's play some Magic. All right, we're here for round number 1 on the draw. I've got probe to redraw and see what's going on, misstep to counter a possible recall or something. Not the best hand, but it's not terrible. Got a Mox Sapphire to do some acceleration. I'm going to keep it, especially on the draw. Going back to what I was saying in the deck tech earlier, do I want to just misstep this so that he doesn't... I feel like I do. I kind of just don't want to give him the information. Like, yeah, I'm really hoping the misstep does something better, like counter Ancestral Recall or something, like Manifold Key. But if he sees my hand, then maybe he can play the game in such a way where he can navigate around my misstep, and like, maybe he doesn't play this Manifold Key and just waits to tutor for it with Urza Saga, and that's problematic for me. Okay, not worried about days here. Oh, what you got going on? Paradoxical Outcome, Bolas's Citadel, far from either of those. I think I can safely Darker at Doomsday here. And I'm going to do so off of a fresh Underground Z so that I can not tutor for one. Alright, so we don't need to overcomplicate this. Okay. Opponent conceded, making that easy. In general, from this point, the pile is Recall into Lotus Flusterstorm and Thassa's Oracle, because that works. You draw a Recall for turn, that puts you down to 4. You cast the Recall, that puts you down to 1. You can put a Street Wraith in the pile if you're worried about a removal spell, which I probably should do there, which I'm probably not going to do there because I have the second Thoracle in hand. Like, that's usually fine. Like, my life total wasn't under enough pressure where I felt like I was going to lose the game if I present a Thoracle with a card in the library. So that since I have the other Thoracle, I can use that last slot for a Flusterstorm or a Duress or something. Probably, I guess it could be Duress since I have the Mox Sapphire. If I have Mox Jet out, it's much more likely to be a Duress, because that's a mana source that can't cast Thassa's Oracle. So we're playing against... Did they reveal Aluris? Can I see it still? League details? No. Oops. Return to game. So they showed me Voltaic Key. They showed me a Mox Ruby. I don't see Luris in the log. I'm pretty sure revealing Luris gets put in there if it would be. So like Null Rod, Pithing Needle are all considerations. Hurkyl's Recall maybe. It's just really hard to know what to do with as little information as I have. I'm just going to cut the tutors because it's a fair matchup. Bring in Pithing Needles because I would rather turn off just his artifacts that I'm worried about, like Voltaic Key, than turn off all artifacts. And I'm just gonna run it from there and see where it goes. Get a little more information with this game. Okay, so for the third time now, back to what I was saying about Lavinia and the deck tech. As I was talking about a minute ago, Black Lotus is usually part of my Doomsday pile, meaning that Lavinia countering Black Lotus can really hinder my ability to win the game. And that's why I'm playing Fatal Pushes in the deck. I'm going to keep this hand. It has a win with Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation. I'm hoping to draw another blue card on my first draw step. I'm hoping to not have to counter anything this turn. Soul Ring would be counterable in some situations, but I'm not so worried about it that I feel like I'm going to give up my Thassa's Oracle. Demonic Tutor. So this is an interesting situation I heard about in a Bosch and Roll video. It's like, now that Urza Saga is in the format, there's some question as to whether you're supposed to counter the tutor instead of countering what it gets, because they could just be tutoring for Urza Saga. Likely not the case, since he tutored for a land there. Or since he played Scalding Tarn there instead of Urza Saga. It seems like it's probably recall the way he's playing. He's probably going to recall in my upkeep, which seems odd. No, given a deck that's playing all these Moxen and stuff, and he's had no fear of going to discard, he should have just done it in his turn. Maybe he's playing around Force of Negation. I think I'm going to let this go here. Oh, that Dark Ritual is not what I wanted to see. All right, and this is working out exactly how I wanted, where he drew his 3 cards with recall, and he doesn't have anything to do, so I can take time to develop, find another blue card for my Force of Will, such as this one, while I get to enough mana to go Thassa's Oracle plus Demonic Consultation. I would love for him to spend some resources this turn, like playing out some artifacts or something. Notably, he has enough mana, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, to hardcast Force and do other things like a Flusterstorm. I'm going to bait with this Time Walk this turn. Opponent wisely just letting it go. Got a nice Explore here. 6, 7. It's a tough call whether I'm supposed to try and go for it here, because clearly my opponent's got a pretty reactive hand with 5 cards, so I'm not super confident in my ability to win with 1 Force against all his untapped mana. But obviously the longer I go, the longer I'm letting him draw more cards, and I don't really have any way to... Okay. This gives me an out next turn with double Force, double blue card. So I think I'm going to go for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to discard a Dark Ritual here. Merchant Scroll. Again, I'll let you have that. If he gets a Flusterstorm here, I'm pretty screwed. Yep. Alright. So now I'm going to draw this Ponder looking for Duress. a Flusterstorm of my own. That'll work. If I draw another land, that is. Possibly a Black Lotus. Now I'm going to discard the Fatal Push, because using Dark Ritual just as like some extra mana to pay for Flusterstorm stuff might be important. Yeah, you can Island Cycle your Lorien Revealed. I don't care about that. I bottomed this, right? One top, one bottom. Ugh. Fucking Moto. All right, here is where I'm going to start picking a fight. Okay. Uh-huh. Storm count 5. Actually going to use Dark Rituals to pay for the Flusterstorms. So that I can keep my Flusterstorm. For his next PO. Not quite sure what my opponent's in the tank about here. Maybe a Spell Pierce. If he does have a Spell Pierce, I am going to Dark Writ in response. Am I? Because then that would... I'd pay for this Spell Pierce. Because the thing I'm worried about is him having another Paradoxical next turn, which... So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I had Demonic Consultation and Flusterstorm... 1, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. After his PO. So PO is Storm 1. Consultation is 2. Flusterstorm would be 3. So he actually has enough mana to still pay for that. I also messed up. I was not supposed to do the second force when he forced back. I think I was supposed to fluster there so that I still had my Thassa's Oracle. And then if I had to force again, I could, but really I would probably just let him do his thing on my turn, hope to draw a blue card so that I could force to protect my combo. Because now my plan is Demonic Consultation for... That's tough. Probably Ancestral Recall. And just hope to not exile it in the top 6 cards. I could Consultation for Doomsday. That's the safe line. But, I mean, it's not that safe because I have to pass the turn with nothing in my hand at that point. This was an interesting game, to say the least. I wish my opponent would make a decision as to what he's doing in response to this Dark Ritual. If he is still here and not dealing with connection issues. I don't know what's going on. I feel like if I do hit the recall, I mean, what are the odds of me exiling the recall? It has to be in the top 6. So 6 out of, like, it's basically 6 out of 42, right? Well, probably 41 after I'll most likely have to fetch beforehand. If my opponent is just roping me, I'm going to be kind of pissed off. All right, my opponent must have tilted off in the fact that I was going to win the game with paying for Flusterstorm with Dark Rituals and left. So to Fofo86, fuck you. And if you just experienced connection issues, I'm sorry. All right, round number 2. This is unfortunately just... Oh, wait, no, this is perfect. I can Demonic Tutor for Force of Will, and then... just win. I could try to just go off and hope they don't have it, and that way I could win with Ponder, but I'm not going to do that. Actually, I should make sure this Black Lotus resolves first. Because I'm not 100% sure Mental Misstep might be able to counter a 0. Man, this is where the Singleton Days would actually be really good. I wish I was playing it right now. I almost put it back in. Okay. Black. Doomsday. Lotus is going to be part of it. Thassa's Oracles. Recall. Fluster. This is the usual 5. So it goes Thoracle, Thoracle, Fluster, Lotus, Recall. Done. And then we pass. Hope to not get Lavinia'd. If I was my opponent, I would have just conceded to the Doomsday to conceal information if I wasn't playing a deck that can win this turn. Just knowing that he has Gift and now Mox Sapphire means something. Is he targeting himself? Okay, you got it. You didn't have recall from, you didn't have force for my thing, so you probably don't have it now. Wasteland's kind of good here. That does prevent me from Thoracling a second time if he can answer the first one. Might have been a reason to put Street Wraith on pile. I can Ponder to draw my last card. That brings me off of Flusterstorm. But cracking Black Lotus to cantrip a couple times seems like a play of desperation to me. So I feel pretty good about what's going to happen. As long as I don't accidentally click through him trying to cast some problematic permanent like a Pithing Needle or a Null Rod or a Lavinia or something along those lines. If I still had a land and he played a problematic permanent, I could actually do a neat trick where I bounce my Mox Sapphire and sack the land to Chain Vapor his thing. And then I could... I basically get to cast the Chain Vapor for 0 mana because I get to replay the Mox. Okay. Moment of Truth. Recall myself. Force of Negation, I'll force back. And he concedes. Alright. Opponent showed me vintage blue cards. Gonna do the usual thing. Same thing I did last time. Cut the tutors that are card disadvantage. This time I didn't even get the benefit of seeing like stuff worth Pithing Needling. Like I didn't see a Voltaic Key or something like that. And I don't know the vintage format well enough to know what this might be. It could be a Doomsday Mirror. Like what land did he get with that Lorien revealed? Underground Sea. Could be Lurrus. Could be Doomsday. Did he reveal Lurrus? No. The lack of Lurrus suggests to me... By the way, this deck could be a Lurrus deck because of what I said about Street Wraith earlier, where I don't like Street Wraith. Like, you have... Sometimes it comes up where it's like, okay, I keep talking about, like, I can put the Street Wraith in to get my last card after I recall. Draw 1 for turn, recall 3. There's 1 left in your library. But I can still use Gitaxian Probe for that. Could maybe Mindbreak Trap as a way to stop your things with less card disadvantage. I'm more interested in Mindbreak Trap than I am Force of Negation, is basically what I'm saying. I don't think I'm interested in Leyline of the Void. I don't have enough information to Pithing Needle, so I guess I'm going to bring in the 2 Mindbreak Traps and submit and reevaluate for game 3 if there is one. All right, got a good hand. I'm gonna keep this. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to play this. I guess it depends on he's on the play. So. Okay. 4 mana. Shieldred the Apocalypse. Well, I cannot beat that. So I'm going to force that, pitching a Treasure Cruise. Alright. Bad shit. Time Walk. If I go to 11, if I recall into Lotus to Time Walk this turn, go to 9, am I more likely to win that game somehow than taking 4 from Shieldred? Not sure. I think I'm going to pass with the availability to either Flusterstorm or recall him, depending on what happens. Shieldred was one of the cards I was trying to think of that I didn't earlier. I was trying to think of, like, what's something that I could, like, Dark Ritual into that will just win the game that I could play instead of Necropotence. Is that worth flustering? I think so. Like, him being stuck with 1 card in hand with no selection. I feel good about my chances with this. Oh, fuck me. That was the bait? Jesus. Oh, what an embarrassment. Where were you on turn 1? All right. If I find the land, if I take another 4 and go to 7, go to 5. This is my last turn, so it's recall time. You got it, dude. Alright, well, I still have the Fatal Pushes in. I really don't think I want to make any changes. All this mana, nowhere to go. I think there's a turn 1 Treasure Cruise in this hand if I really want to. I'm almost certain there's a turn 1 Treasure Cruise in this hand. I'm going to keep it. I have the push for that Shieldred if that happens again. Let's see what this Ponder has in tow for me. Probably supposed to get Island there, given that I have Mox Jet. Okay, that's a Doomsday. Double Doomsday is awesome. Two Thoracles. A Duress. Recall. So if I have Doomsday, Lotus, that's 2 cards. Lotus is 3 mana. So that's 5 for Treasure Cruise. Not enough to cruise this turn, unfortunately. Am I supposed to I can't gush. Have the Lotus already. I guess a Street Wraith. Now the challenge, do I play around a removal spell for Lotus? I think I just cast it. All right, if this gets countered, I just lose. Cool. That was a smart play by my opponent, not countering the Doomsday. Well, I don't know if he had the mental misstep or if he has a force of will, but it's actually better to fight over the Ancestral Recall rather than the Doomsday most of the time, especially in situations where I only have one blue land. Like, I'm only going to be able to go off once. I guess what I'm trying to say is that if I have multiple blue lands, like I can stack a Doomsday pile where it's like a recall on top of gush. So if you counter the recall, I can gush the next turn, and then it is what it is. All right, we're here for round number 3 with a 1-on-1 record on the draw. Hit him with the U2 nice words from our opponents. All right. We've got pretty solid opening hands. Alrighty. Let's see what they're starting off with. One of the nice things about playing Vintage, as demonstrated by the last match, is that this format is fast. So, like I said earlier, I was thinking like I might only get one game before. Okay, Patchwork Automaton. I don't think I can let this go through. Well, that has a ward. Okay. I'm gonna get the island here. Yikes. None of these are the second land that I was looking for, so bye. So we're playing against what I assume is shops with no 0 mana artifact hand is pretty odd. Oh, Eldrazi, okay. Divining Top. I cut the Divining Top from this deck. Most of the Goldfish lists weren't playing it either. And it's just worse than Ponder. Look at you go. Alright, hoping to brainstorm into a fetch land and fatal push this glaring Fleshraker this turn. Well, who needs brainstorm when you got the real deal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that brings me to 7. I can force pitch Preordain and cast Treasure Cruise next turn. I can cast the Treasure Cruise regardless. I'm just expecting to have to force of will something. I'm feeling pretty good about this game right now. This is not really Eldrazi, it's just... I don't know, is this what Shops looks like? Yeah, you... You're gonna sack the spawn? You really need to see that third card that bad? I love to see that. Alright, I already have 7. So let's cast this Cruise. There's not... Exiling the Recall could be bad. But I think we're past the point where I really need it back in my library when I Doomsday. Like, Gush is going to be good enough. And yeah, we're just going to win this turn. Sapphire. I don't know. What's the last card in his hand? Keep each player draw their... I don't care about that. I don't know. It doesn't matter really. Just another... Another Ponder, a Street Wraith, I guess. Done. Okay, so I'm going to Lotus for blue, Brainstorm, and draw Gush and Street Wraith and Sapphire. I don't know, I feel like there's a way I can fuck this up, and I'm really terrified of that. Okay, put back these two. Cast Gush. Cast this. Cycle this. Okay, win. Playing against Shops. Patchwork Shops. Hercule's Recall seems really good. The way his deck played out last game, Null Rod didn't seem that good. Like, this might not actually be, well, they probably played Workshop, but like, it might not be, they might not play all of the Moxen and that shit with the idea that they're going to play their own null rods and pithing needles to turn off power. It's unusual. But like in that situation, because normally like you want Mind Break Trap because their plan is like, okay, cast a bunch of Moxen into like a 3-drop or a 4-drop thing that you Mind Break Trap. Opposition Agent doesn't seem good. Hurkyl's Recall is definitely better than these things. Flusterstorm doesn't seem good. I'm expecting this deck to play Mind Break Traps of its own. Which, yeah, maybe then I don't think this is a deck where Misstep is good. Maybe that buys me back a Fluster. Because them Mind Break, like, protecting against their Mind Break Trap, I need Flusters, not my own Mind Break Traps. And I think I care more about that than interacting with them. I think the Fatal Pushes are good. I mean, we can certainly trim on some things if we need to. I'm going to try this and see where it goes. This, not a great hand. I'd really prefer to have a Force of Will. Against an opponent's mulligan, I'm a little more inclined to keep something like this. I can turn 1 Mystical Tutor and then get Probe to draw it if I want to find a Force of Will that way. I do have a Chain of Vapor for a problematic permanent. Duress probably should have not made the cut in hindsight. Although it is another way to deal with their Mind Break Traps and answers their Karns. So maybe it's better than Flusterstorm in that regard. If I don't tutor for Force, I Mystical Tutor for Doomsday, draw it for turn, cast Time Walk, and hope to draw Dark Ritual because I have Island instead of Underground Sea. This is really close. I'm going to keep it. I want to see how this one shapes up for Science. Especially like while we're up a game and going on the play in game 3 against a deck that I don't think has Force of Will in it. I think we're in pretty good shape in that regard. Okay, does have workshops, does have power. Time Vault. You're gonna Vault Key me on turn 1? You gotta be fucking kidding me. Alright, go off, King. I want to get some info on what his deck has, so I'm gonna let him do this for a little while. Okay, that's kind of... Well, I don't know. Now I'm... Like, I have a way to draw in the forces now. This will be over quickly enough, right? I might skip through it and just give you the details at the end. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna go pee while he does. I guess I forgot that I have to respond to his triggers every turn. I mean, at this point, he shouldn't even show me any more information. He's got 6 power. It's 6 power, and he's going to make me lose 2 life every turn. So he's on a 2-turn clock. I'll just continue. All right, with that in mind, now that I've seen the Moxen, I am going to Mind Break Trap him. Bring in Mind Break Trap. I don't think Null Rod on the play. Well, I do have Dark Rituals. I can Dark Raid out a Null Rod on turn 1. With that in mind, I am going to cut Flusterstorm now. I could back off the Street Wraith. Voltaic Key is a hit for Mental Misstep, but what else? I mean, he probably has his own mental missteps. Let me look at what's in shops. This is probably a very typical shops deck. Not Jewel shops, not Sphere shops. Raker shops? What's that? Is that... Okay. Yeah, that's what I would call it, patchwork shops, but I guess Glaring Frustraker is the hot new card that's busted, so that's what they're calling it. Vexing Bauble, 4 Divining Tops, Mana Vault Key, Mana Vault, Soul Ring. They aren't playing Mind Break Traps of their own. The One Ring, geez. I don't know. So Mental Misstep, I would have 2 cuts to make. If I did that, I still gotta find 1 cut. Probably the Mystical Tutor. Where's Vamp Tutor? No, Vamp Tutor finds Null Rod. Let's try that. I thought Shops was all about like Chalice of the Void and stuff like that. Jeez, if this had a land, man. Oh my gosh. Yikes. I'm going to keep this one at 6. I'm not thrilled about it. I think I'm putting back Preordain. Oof. Kind of hoping that my opponent has a weak hand here, because I've got a slow hand for sure. Oh, they do have mind break traps. I don't know why I thought they wouldn't. I just didn't see it there on the list. Mana Crypt. Divining Top. 4 mana left. Okay, why'd you tap the Workshop if you're not casting something yet? That happens. I was really hoping to draw a fetch land so that I could just fatal push this thing, but that ain't it. That's okay. I'm actually fine with passing and letting us both draw a card and then Hercule's recalling him next turn. Thinking about Mana Crypt being in the format, that is a situation where like Dark Ritualing out a Street Wraith could be really effective, because they're, you know, taking 1.5 themselves on average every turn. If you're hitting them for 3, that's solid, like 4-turn clock possibly. So I'm hoping he just dumps out a bunch of artifact dudes. That's not an artifact dude. Mystic Forge, that could be worse. Okay. The first opportunity after the Forge is on the battlefield is when I will recall. Right? He has enough mana from playing the Mana Crypt again and this Pearl that he'll actually be able to play the Forge, but I think this will still be good enough here, hopefully. I don't think it's getting better for me is the point. Man, Glaring Fleshraker is such a mistake of a card. Why did they give colorless a Gutter Snipe that's also a Goblin Electromancer? Wait, are they infinite? Isn't Divining Top, Fleshraker, and Mystic Forge infinite? Because you put the... You draw a card with the top, then you sack a spawn to recast it with Forge. And then you make another spawn. You make another spawn when you recast it. So it's just, yeah, they have infinite damage here if they just do it. See if our opponent knows that they have that available to them. So I was actually supposed to brainstorm in response to the Mystic Forge with that information. He did it. I'll concede. That was my bad. The brainstorm didn't hit anyway. Unlucky. All right, we are back for round number 4 against Schminkeldorf, winning the die roll for the second time in the league. About damn time. No lands once again. Good lord. All right, we've got 2 pieces of mana, 3 pieces of mana with Dark Ritual, Mystical Tutor for Doomsday, Force blue card. If this was a... Nah, I mean, it's a keepable hand, but this is like so close to a turn 1. I'm going to play out the Moxen. Mystical Tutor. Doomsday. Draw. Dark Rit. Doomsday. As long as my opponent doesn't have Flusterstorm, I'm good here. He's digging. Doomsday resolves. Gonna do the usual pile. Now we hope it's good enough. 5 cards in my opponent's hand. I'm empty. He's free to do whatever he wants. This is the drawback of your AB combo being Dark Ritual Doomsday instead of Time Vault Voltaic Key, which, I mean, that costs 3 mana instead of 1. Oh, he tapped his Wasteland. I was dead if he used that Wasteland on my C. But I'm probably losing to whatever he Demonic Tutored for, honestly. Like, he just recalls me in response to my recall, and I just die. Yeah. Fucking Mox Jet. one of the many reasons I would not play this deck as like my main deck if I wanted to get into Vintage more. Okay. I really feel like the deck needs some kind of plan A to execute, where Doomsday is like this inevitable thing. It's like, if you don't win the game before, or if you don't, you have to answer these things and you spend all your resources answering this other thing, and then I Doomsday and win that way. I don't know. I have no idea what we're playing against, but I think the usual plan is the usual plan. Did they reveal a Luris? Nope. Okay, Mind Break Trap. Submit. Man, this one kind of sucks. I'm gonna keep it. Like, I guess I can consultation for Doomsday. But I really need another land. I'm kind of tempted to consultation for recall. I'm gonna do it. No, just draw the land. You dazing me? Man, sure thing, bro. All right. Now I'm going to draw the land that I wanted last turn. No, that's worse. I mean, I guess it's not worse if I draw Doomsday next turn. I want another land so I can cast this Gush. Do I want third land? Not really. That's annoying. And I floated blue instead of black. What a blunder. Can I get a land? Go. God, if I had floated black mana, this opposition agent that shouldn't be in my deck would have come in so clutch. Jeez. Alright, I'm going to try and get my value blocking here. If he has a mystical tutor in response, that's fine. There's another Bowmaster. That kind of sucks. Yikes. Still, I mean, this is Doomsday. I can't beat two Bowmasters anyway. Oh, come on. I'm going to 11. Then I'll go to 5. Then I'll go to 2. And I can't win. This deck needs a mill spell so bad. I run into this problem so fucking much. I have to find a fatal push before I can win. This is the world that we live in. This is vintage. My opponent's not playing removal spells. I kind of want both of these, but I have to take the fatal push. With the Luris coming down next turn, this is just over. All right, the 5th and final round with Vintage Doomsday. We've got a mediocre hand that I'm going to keep yet again. Kind of interesting here. We can probe them and see if there's something worth duressing. You can have your Lotus. I'll force what comes out of it. I don't care about that. I mean, I care a little bit, but not enough. That one's worse. I think I'm going to use the probe here to counter and hope to draw another blue card so that I can force his next follow-up. Why are you doing this to me? I think it's so much more likely that duress stops him than Oppo. Or this could happen. Ingot Chewer. Destroy target artifact. Evoke for 1. I'm going to get Rabblemond. Because I didn't draw the blue card. If I draw a blue card... I Force of Will this, and I get to just, you know, win the game. That was a good draw. I actually kind of wish he was going to crack it here. When he attacks, I am going to oppo him and block. Oh, he didn't attack. All right. We got the clock. 4 turns. Force of Will is not live. Opponent's drawing bricks, apparently. I'm tutoring up a recall. I honestly don't think Flusterstorm does anything against his deck, so I'm just going to cast the Creeps. Opponent's bricking some more. I'm going to get a Surveil land in the end step. That's actually what I want here. Just a way to keep the board clear. Getting pretty close to hard cast Force of Will. Granted, that would be every land in my deck. Don't know what happened to my opponent there. 4 bricks in a row. All right. Playing against main deck Null Rod and Vexing Bauble, I'm thinking I should probably have Hercules. I don't think I want Mindbreak Trap. Actually, I definitely don't want Mindbreak Trap. He didn't even show me actual Blood Moon, so I'm thinking Force of Negation is pretty bad too. Maybe I don't need 3 Hercules. I don't think this deck's probably going to load in a bunch of Hydra Blasts. Or not Hydra, Pyroblasts from the sideboard. Could cut the Street Wraith, but it actually seemed like maybe Dark Ritual Street Wraith might be an important part of the plan. Maybe I cut the... Okay, I could cut the Misstep. He showed me Vexing Bauble, but I don't think there's going to be much else. The card's restricted. Cut the Tutors. I could cut the second Thassa's Oracle, but against the Red Blasts, I just don't feel confident in that. This is where my lack of vintage knowledge is really going to show. The Opposition Agent, though it won me that game, probably not really the line. Especially now that he's expecting it. Duress seems pretty bad. Especially on the draw. That buys me back the Oppo. Or the Misstep. I think if I have the Misstep for the Bauble on turn 1, that's really good. I have the Fatal Push, I have the Force of Will, I have a Demonic Tutor, pretty much everything I want. I'm not weak to the, what's it called? Null Rod. Opponent's taking a mulligan. This is looking good for the good guys, because Blood Moon players are never the good guys. Even when I'm the Blood Moon player, we're not the good guys. Ancient 2. Soul Ring. Soul Ring is allowed. I would counter a Trinisphere. Magus of the Moon. Eats a counter. Can I win? I'm a mana short. I'm not even... Opponent showed me Vexing Bauble, so I am going to cast it. Okay, 4 just counters. Okay, Dark Ritual off of C, Demonic Lotus for blue, Demonic Tutor, leaving 2 black, 2 blue floating, C for black, Ponder into Recall. Okay, that's the line. Just in case it fucks me here. Lotus. Recall. Thoracle. Thoracle. Street Wraith. Done. Lotus, Recall, Street Wraith. Cycle. Okay, had enough. A solid 2-3 finish. That is my second 2-3 in a row at this. I can partially blame my own lack of experience with Doomsday, I think. Or not. Well, I mean, yeah, Doomsday, but I meant Vintage. Changes to the deck, if I would make any. Love not having Necropotence, because every time I cast that card, I lose. I don't know, maybe they're onto something with 4 Street Wraiths and Dark Ritualing into it. Because that... like, Vintage is just so creature light that a really mediocre creature like Street Wraith, that's legacy card, is actually still pretty threatening. I wish they would fix this. But mostly I feel like the tuning is in the sideboard. Let me think back. We beat Mono Red. We lost to Shops. We won round 1 against what seemed like Shops, I think, if I remember correctly. We lost to 2 fair blue decks. As fair as Vintage gets, I guess. Nothing's fair in Vintage. So, yeah, that seems about how it should go, I guess. I don't know. I think we're probably supposed to beat Shops more. I think I played that game a little poorly. I'll blame part of that on the fact that I wasn't sure it was Shops after game 1. But yeah, deck's fun. Yeah. See you next time.